specific part of the conversation. Allow me to introduce my panel. Sitting closer to me is James Mangerere. He's the patron of ICMC. In the middle, I have Eugene Moscovich, who is the former president of International Academy of Mediators. And on my far left, Dr. Samson Mchelelu, who is a certified professional mediator. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this Saturday morning. Dr. Samson, let me begin with you. Help our audience understand what mediation is.
In a nutshell, mediation is a process where one makes two parties which are in a disagreement to reach an amicable solution. And this solution is reached by both parties understanding what is in stake for them and agreeing mutually on the way forward on how to resolve that issue. Yeah.
All right, so in layman's language, why is this important for Wanjiku or Otiende to understand what mediation is and what can it do for them?
You find that in most cases, most people would want to rush to courts to resolve real simple matters that can be handled through mediation. And as you know, court processes, one, they're expensive, they take a lot of time, and if a party understands what mediation is all about, they'll be able to save a lot of resources that can be channeled somewhere else to assist them in the day-to-day running of their lives, instead of just rushing to courts. So mediation is a process that will assist parties live together in harmony. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Moscovich, please help us understand some of the misconceptions around mediation.
Well, the process itself is a very fluid and dynamic process. Every mediation is different depending on the parties and the facts and the situation, of course. But the public sometimes doesn't realize the advantages of the privacy of it, of the economics, of the expediency, of its ability to save people not only money so that they're not in litigation for an extended period of time, but also the emotional struggle and turmoil and the uncertainty of pending litigation. Dr. Sampson mentioned that people rush to the courthouse and rush to litigation, and that's true in the United States, where I come from as well. But the cases don't move through the system very quickly at all. They can take anywhere from a year to 3 years until there's a resolution. And I think people need to realize that voluntary mediation is a way to shortcut that system and get the assistance of a facilitator who can help them look at what the probable consequences are of going forward and make a rational decision early on, so that commerce is not impeded, and more importantly, so that the stress of uncertainty and litigation is reduced.
All right, Mr. Mangerere, Moscovich just painted for us the misconceptions, but he's also noted the advantages. What advantages are there?
You know, usually when people are in conflict, there are three most important issues that emanate from conflict. Those are substantive issues, emotional issues, and pseudo-substantive issues. You will always find that conflicts are resolved without people focusing on those substantive issues. Our emotional issues take precedence. So usually when we subject people who need a relationship or who want to establish a relationship into litigation, what litigation does, it resolves the dispute but destroys the relationship. So we are social animals, and therefore as social animals we live together in an environment where we need each other. We need to resolve our disputes, but still maintain our relationship. So the advantages of mediation are that, first of all, mediation is assisted negotiation. You assist people who are negotiating by opening lines of communication, and also at the same time by trying to explore settlement possibilities in a safe environment. So it's the better option.
Dr. Simpson, is it possible to do that, where you can mediate a conflict and still be able to maintain relationships?
Yes, I'll give you a few examples. You find that in our setup, for example, in terms of land, you'll find a family trying to resolve land issues.
Yes.
These are people from the same place, same family. And if they can sit down and be assisted through mediation to resolve their land issues, they live together in harmony. But you can imagine now where one runs to court, that we go resolve this issue from the courts. Now you are leaving the solution to the court to make a decision for you. The question is, will these two parties stay in harmony after that?
Right.
Or what happens?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Moscovich, paint for us an image. Help us understand, help Kenyans and the viewers understand what qualifies a case for mediation, because I'm sure it's not every quarrel that you have that now needs a mediator. So what qualifies a case for that?
Well, in the United States, it's the issue of litigation is what controls it. Either a complaint or a lawsuit has been filed in a commercial lawsuit or regarding an employment controversy between an employee and an employer or in a personal injury matter, and that case is now on a conveyor belt heading towards trial. Occasionally, we handle things even before a lawsuit is filed. But what really triggers the process under most circumstances is that the parties are in active litigation, and it's an expensive process, and it's a very disharmonizing process.
Right.
And at that point in time, the attorneys representing those parties will come together and voluntarily select a mediator and come to that mediator maybe as early on as right after the case has been filed to see if that mediator can help each side see the other's point of view, not necessarily agree with it, but see it to the extent of understanding what the possible risks are of going forward.
All right, Dr. Sampson, Mr. Moskovic painted a picture within what happens in America, society, but coming back closer home here in Kenya, is it the same scenario when it comes to what qualifies a case for mediation?
Yes, I agree with him. You know, mediation is a process that, or the definition of mediation is accepted worldwide. That's the worldwide definition of mediation. And whatever happens across this country, it cuts across all the cultures within the world. So I tend to agree with him. That's what mediation is all about.
All right. James, now let's bring it a bit closer in layman's language. Are there types of mediations?
Yes.
And if they're there, what are some of those?
Well, we have different types of mediation. We have workplace mediation. We have community mediation. We have family mediation. We have marital mediation. The reason why I'm saying family and marital. Family mediation deals with divorce and separation. Marital mediation deals with putting parties together. We have what we call mediation for construction disputes. Peer mediation for school children. We tend to teach children to resolve their disputes and inculcate the culture of this mediation early enough before they become adults. We have foreclosure mediation, especially for banks. You know, once you have taken a mortgage and you are incapable of paying, usually banks tend to send their people for auctioneers to carry out away your property. We have ways that we can mediate that dispute so that at least there is a different arrangement, an alternative arrangement of ensuring that the mortgagees are not mishandled or harassed. We have mediation for other settings like medical disputes. Like now, you always find that whenever doctors are accused of medical negligence, they are subjected to a very rigorous process which brings the doctors to doubt. We have a process where those issues can be resolved so that the dignity of the doctors can be maintained, and at the same time, the patients can go home knowing that there was some reasonable care taken.
There's one that has caught my attention.
Yes.
The one for children, teaching children how to be mediators at a young age.
Yes.
How do we go about that? Is it taught in schools?
Well, there's a program that we have there's a Mediation Training Institute in Kenya, Mediation Training Institute International, East Africa. We have a program known as peer mediation. That's specifically for children in upper primary and secondary schools. In fact, most of the disputes you find in schools like bullying, children even thinking of suicide, is because they have not been trained on how to resolve their conflict internally. So we have a program that teaches children simple mediation skills so that they can resolve disputes in their dormitories. They start learning that skill very early in life. By the time they grow up and go to university, you can't see people running, throwing stones because they know how to communicate and how to diffuse tension. It's a very elaborate program that we have that runs for 3 days and teaches the basic skills in mediation to students in schools.
What are some of those basic skills that our viewers can learn today?
One thing is that mediation, as I told you, is assisted negotiation. Children are trained to communicate and also to actively listen. Because, communication is 7% what people say. That 7% is the tone of the voice. 56% is the body language, which means a small portion of communication is by speaking. So if what you say is not in tandem with your tone of your voice and the body language, communication is not complete. So we teach them how to actively listen, how to paraphrase and reframe statements very early in life, and also after improving them in communication and negotiation skills, they also learn how to negotiate, because usually we learn very early a wrong type of negotiation.
There are types of negotiation.
Yes. When you are born, you cannot talk. So when you are angry, you cry to intimidate your mom to breastfeed you. So we learn that the only way to get what we want is through intimidating others. There is a different way of negotiation, which is known as collaborative or principled negotiation, where we reconcile the interests of the parties in dispute. You get what you want, the other person what they want. And this can be found in the book of William Urey, known as Getting to Yes. They say that you have to peel the preach to the other person. So once you have peeled the preach, you can then ask the other person to walk back on the preach to your side on the preach that you have already peeled. So we have always been told that we negotiate using coercion. That means you intimidate your opponent to an extent that they lose confidence in their own case, and then you pressure them into accepting yours. And that's the wrong negotiation skills that we have.
And the right way to negotiate is to build a bridge.
Is to build a bridge and reconcile your interests with the interest of your opponent. That way you resolve the dispute, but you maintain the relationship.
What if my opponent doesn't want to build his bridge as well?
That is a perspective. People have perspectives. If I draw a W down here right now, you'll be seeing a W. The other person from the other side will be seeing an M. Yourself, you'll be seeing a 3. My friend here, Ginny, will be seeing an E. That doesn't mean that any one of us is either crazy or stupid.
I mean, James, you make mediation and negotiation sound so easy.
Yeah, it's a very easy process because we already have 50% of our skills through the University of Life. That is through your social and emotional intelligence.
Right.
What we add you even when we train you is what we call behavioral technology. And behavioral technology is how to influence human behavior. Those are very few skills we add on top of what you already have, and you are a complete mediator.
Dr. Sampson, the aspect that, this is fantastic with the mediators, but affordability, how many Kenyans can afford the service or the time of having a mediator?
Maybe I would ask you a question differently.
Okay.
How many Kenyans afford going to court? Okay? And how many cases do we have in court which are still pending, which have been, finished, and ABCD? So it's a really affordable process, very, very affordable to all Kenyans. It's only a matter of understanding what mediation is all about. So I would say it should not be a cost issue, but it's just understanding what is mediation. Yeah.
So does that mean that if a family, given with the example that you had of land, if a family, let's say from a low-income community like Kibera, they were fighting for this one piece of land that their grandfather left them, how would then that one family be able to afford a mediator to come and resolve the dispute?
Okay, we have mediation institutes which are available and organizations. One of them is Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators that shall be launching on the 6th of July. Depending on your lifestyle and how much you can be able to afford, if you reach such an institution, you should be able to get assistance through qualified mediators. So I would say yes, we have pro bono services that can be availed to you based on your lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
Kenya's society, Kenya's laws, is it like, should I say, an environmentally friendly environment for mediation to occur? Do we have the proper law structures that allow this to happen? Policies, perhaps?
Yes. We have proper policies that have been put in place to assist or entrench mediation within the country. And here we very much congratulate our courts, which have really embraced mediation as part of dispute resolution going forward.
All right. Yes, James.
Probably I'll just add on top of that. Article 159 of our Constitution indicates that the courts and tribunals have a leeway of resolving disputes through litigation, alternative dispute resolution, and traditional justice systems. So the civil procedure, the law that the booklet the lawyers use in court in practice, has been amended accordingly to accommodate mediation. Now we have the court annexed mediation in this country, and in the court annexed mediation, once a suit has been filed in court, the mediation registrar can identify which suit is appropriate for mediation and notify the parties to file what we call case summaries. And once that is done, the case is handed back to a mediator. So once a mediator resolves the dispute, if you have agreed, you can hand over a report to court, and that report can be adopted as a consent judgment. So mediation is within our laws already. Article 48 of the Constitution talks about access to justice. Access to justice doesn't mean access to the courts. It also means access to a more peaceful way of resolving conflicts. So mediation is already with us here. The courts have been running a pilot program. It's over. Now, all the courts in Kenya are now able to handle to do mediation.
All right.
That's the reason why we now have that institute, as you have been told, that will now be managing and setting standards. The Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators will be setting standards and regulating the quality of mediators in this country.
Mr. Moscovich, I'll let you have the final word.
Thank you.
What are some of those laws or regulations that Kenya perhaps can borrow from America?
Well, we're very excited in the international community about the progress that Kenya is making in the mediation field. I agree completely with James that the infrastructure is clearly here, and that this is fast developing as a way to keep commerce moving, and to keep people generally more satisfied, to enhance their sense of closure, their belief that they don't have to be passed along in a broad system. The progress we've seen is under the leadership of these gentlemen has been outstanding. I'm here from Los Angeles to teach and to learn and to contribute to the growth of mediation in Kenya to the extent that I can. The International Academy of Mediators, an organization of about 200 professional mediators who are chosen by invitation only from all 6 continents now,
right.
Are very, very encouraging and supportive of the work that is being done.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning, and thank you for helping us understand the issue of mediation here in Kenya. That is where we would leave off the show. That was my panel this morning, James Mangerere, who is a patron of ICMC, as well as Eugene Moscovich, former president for the International Academy of Mediators. On my far left, Dr. Samson Mchelelu, who is a certified professional mediator, helping us understand mediation here in Kenya, the advantages, the types that are there. I've learned something new. I hope you've also learned one. Just to close off the show, if you